in it. I don't think I can wear this gun either. Okay, to make our awesome muffins, we're going to need 4 ounces of sugar. We're going to need natural yogurt, so make that low fat if you can, doesn't matter too much. Baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, a drop of vanilla, a dash of salt, 14 ounces of self-raising flour. That is a lot. There will be a lot, but trust me, that's what you need. A little bit of red for the blood, or if you want to keep things PG, you can make it green. 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and make that nice and soft. A little bit of cinnamon, and an egg. Preheat your oven to gas 5, because we want these fuckers to rise. Because we're making entire heads of liquors, we want the top of the muffin to be really big, so that their big old brains can sit on the top. So what I've got is a deep kind of muffin pan. So if you can get your hands on one of those, that's really good. Yeah, if you just grease that up a bit, put some oil all over it so the muffins will be able to come out easily afterwards. And just start filling them. We've got all our self-raising flour in here. What we want to mix in with that is half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a tablespoon of baking powder. The reason why we need so much is so we get it to really rise up, which is what's essential for these muffins. The bigger the better. A little dash of salt and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. It gives it a really good flavour. So now you've got those 4 ingredients in a bowl, just mix them together. Once you put all your flour and your dusty ingredients together, you want to take 5 tablespoons of butter. 5 tablespoons of butter are in there, and you're going to want to mix that with your sugar, and as usual that's caster sugar because it has a nicer effect in the cakes. And then you want to combine that shit. Add your egg, obviously, and then half a teaspoon of vanilla. Whoa. Give it a further mix just for good measure. Make sure it's not too lumpy. All the lumpiness in there, you want to get rid of that. You might have to stab them. The next magical thing you want to do is you want to put in your flour and your yogurt into your buttery mix, but you want to alternate them. You want to add 6 ounces of natural yogurt to your butter mix all in all. So just give 1 big dollop, put it in there, and stir it in. Now we want to alternate the yogurt and the flour, but we want to end with the flour for the last 3 stirs. The mixture you make for these isn't like runny or slippy or drippy. It's quite solid. Oof badoof. There we go. The next thing we're going to do is make the bloody insides of the liquor's brains. So it's going to look like it's split. What we need for that is Philadelphia cream cheese, strawberries, red food dye, and sugar. We're going to use the blender again. Equip. Now I made lots of this earlier, but I'm going to make some more again just to show you how it's done. Take about 6 ounces of Philadelphia, which is near enough an entire pack. And you want to combine that with about a dozen raspberries. I was going to use strawberries, but strawberries suck and raspberries are better. And just a little smattering of sugar. Now that that's mixing up, we want to add our red food dye. Ugh. I'll tell you something, this isn't working. You see that? We want it to look that red. It just looks orange right now. Use strawberries instead of raspberries, okay? And also use better food dye that isn't from the 18th century. That's all I can say. Okay, the next bit is the fun bit. We're going to be transferring half of our muffin dough into the muffin dishes. So we're going to fill the dishes up halfway, then put some of the bloody stuff in the middle, and then cover it up with this again, alright? So that should be good for about 9 dishes. Now we're going to attempt to put the blood in the middle of it. Might want to use some teaspoons for this because it can get quite fiddly. First thing you want to do is make a little dip. Just make a little well in the centre where the blood can sit nice and pretty. And then take a dollop of blood and put it in the middle. So don't be shy with your blood, because if you're worried about your muffins being messy, don't be, because they're liquors. Okay, after we've put our blood in there, we're just going to top it up with some more dough, so it's nice and secure in the middle. Squish. If you want to make like really neat zombies, that's your prerogative, but based on the game, these guys aren't really much for decorum, so I wouldn't worry too much. Oh, look at that one there, it's like a jam sandwich. Okay, you just want to stick them in there for about 20 or 25 minutes, or at least like until they're well risen. Okay? Now after I took the muffins out of the oven, I did actually attempt to do the icing for an hour. And after a lot of deliberation, I only managed to make 2 of them. Look. Don't worry, these are still edible and delicious, despite looking... So for the icing, you will obviously need icing sugar. Now just put that into the bowl, don't worry about sieving it. Just get a good amount in there. When we've done that, you need to start adding water, and you only need to add a tiny little drop. So just add a little bit and then stir. Now it's important that you only add a little bit, because if you add too much it's going to get really sloshy really quickly, and you need it to be as dry as possible without it just being powder. Now you see how that's all dry and clumpy and lumpy? That is exactly what we want. So take your clumpy lump of icing sugar and just spread it on top there. And take some red food dye. Hope for the best. See, what we want is it to get into those dry crevices, you see. Okay, let's try this again. You see how frickin' gross that looks? That's how we want it to look. And if the icing is dry enough, there'll be cracks in it, you see. If it's too wet, it'll end up like that. But if it's nice and dry, there'll be lots of cracks, so it can look like that. Oh my god, that's so cool looking. You see, if it's nice and dry, then it should look all crevicey like this. Like all still covered in powder. So make it look like that. Okay, well the last obvious step is to make the mouths. So just take off your wrapper, take your trusty thrusty knife, and you want to make a big gaping mouth shape. And that's a nice big gob. Now you want to take the leftovers from your cream cheese and strawberry mix, you know, the one with loads of red dye in it, and you want to paste that onto the inside of the mouth. And this also makes his mouth sticky, which is going to be very helpful for step 3. Now you need some almonds. These are going to be the teeth. Chop it in half and stick it in his mouth. Oh, it's pretty good. Remember to leave a gap in between his bottom teeth so you can add his long licky tongue. And I don't mean that kind of lick a tongue. And the tongue is made out of red candy, this kind of long strip of candy. I used it in the Donkey Kong video. Just take a long strip and make a nice point at the end, then curl up the end into a little ball and stick it in his gob. There. And remember to serve immediately. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, but how awesome do these look? They're like my children. Sleepy, grumpy, dopey, bashful. So there you go. Resident Evil liquor muffins.